So let's start. So I don't have to give my usual disclaimer now, because everybody, oh, look, we have Adam Shalloway, who prefers to be incognito and not, there he's showing his face. Hello, Adam Shalloway. Say hello, Adam. Adam, you're unmuted, you can talk.
Hello? Sorry, wrong microphone, had to switch it.
That's okay. So I don't have to give the disclaimer because we're all old
Friends.
old friends by now. But I will give you this. And by the way, this week's session is pretty much going to be a continuation of last week's. We're going to go into more detail about other vegetables to wash and cover some things that I glossed over, which my wife reminded me of. Anyway, so here is what let me start with my this week's limerick. So first, I have to offer apologies to the Wizard of Oz, because the beginning of it will sound like something you heard from the Wizard of Oz. So anyway, everybody has seen the Wizard of Oz, have they not?
Multiple times.
Yes.
Multiple times. I think the only movie I've seen more than the Wizard of Oz is The Big Lebowski, but we're not going to get into that. Okay, here we go. Aphids and thrips and all bugs, oh my, in your produce they'll often come by. Be sure to inspect them and carefully check them for aphids and thrips and all bugs, oh my. Okay.
Very
well,
good.
Thank you. I guess it wasn't that bad. Nobody, everybody, nobody left.
And
So,
don't ingest them.
and don't ingest them. Okay. Well, we have Tammy here. Tammy, welcome.
Thanks.
Tammy, you're new here, yes?
Yes, I am. This is my first time here.
Very good. And what scared you away before? Anything?
No, just point. Stuff came up.
Anyway, Tammy is here, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to also ask Elena, could you mute everybody, please? And what we're going to do is after we're done, we'll have a question and answer session where everybody can just pour out their questions, or if you like, you could send them on chat. But Tammy, what I'm saying is I am a mashgiach. I am not a rabbi. I look like one, but I'm not.
Okay.
A mashgiach basically is a kosher supervisor. I have to pass a test in order to become a mashgiach, but not to the extent that a rabbi does about the laws of kashrut. So anything that I say here, I'm not here to make you, I'm not here to encourage you to change anything that you're doing right now. You should always check with the rabbi first before you do anything as far as the laws of kashrut goes. So that's my disclaimer. Okay.
Okay, I understand, but I'm sure I'll gain some general knowledge, which is why I'm here.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get started. Couple of things that I neglected to say last week, and I want to make very, very, very clear. A lot of people that I know, a lot of people that you know, maybe even some of you yourselves, will go eat at a vegetarian at a restaurant that may be vegetarian restaurant, and many of these vegetarian restaurants are organic. I strongly advise to not go to restaurants that call themselves organic, or they may be organic or may not be, but the reason why is this: they don't use, organic should not use pesticides. And I guarantee you 100% that you're eating bugs, because anybody working in a restaurant that is not supervised by a mashgiach, who basically at a restaurant, the mashgiach spends almost all of his time checking produce for bugs. They're not checking the way that it's properly checked for bugs. And there's a very good chance that you're ingesting bugs. So just keep that in mind for any restaurants that call themselves organic or vegan especially. Last week, we talked a little bit about the requirements as far as kashrut goes, as far as how we check for vegetables, how we check vegetables. The Torah says eating one bug is not allowed. It's not going according to Torah law. And the difference between the Torah and the FDA is the Federal Drug Administration, that they have their own rules and regulations as far as what is acceptable and what is not. So hold on to your seats when you hear this. Start with asparagus. The FDA says, and we're talking about not fresh asparagus, we're talking about something that may come frozen or in a can or in a jar. That what they usually do is that if they're going to a plant to inspect, they'll inspect 10% of the stalks of asparagus that are there, and will allow up to 6 insects in the asparagus if they're checking 10%. That's the good news. The bad news is the rest of their requirements. Mushrooms. They inspect 100 grams, which is 4 ounces. They will allow up to 20 maggots. Anybody ever see a maggot? You don't want to be eating one of those, do you? Then spinach. Spinach is really good. For 100 grams of spinach, they will allow up to 50 insects. 50, 5-0. And for broccoli, up to 60 insects for 4 ounces of vegetables. So be careful. That's why if you're going to get, that's why anything we encourage people to eat, especially canned, bottled, any type of produce that comes with that, I should say comes with bugs, could attract bugs. Get it kosher, because if it's not kosher, you could be eating a lot of bugs. And I said last week how important this is, that to not consume bugs. It mentions in the Torah one time that we should not eat pig. 5 times it mentions it should not eat bugs. So that'll tell you something right there. I'm gonna put up something on a screen right now that you'll find very interesting. This is a chart that can everybody see it? Yeah, nod your heads if you see the chart. Okay, this is a chart I made up. The KOF-K, OK, CRC, Star K, OU. These are the 5 major kashrut agencies in the country. And I took 6 different types of produce: romaine lettuce, cauliflower, broccoli, strawberries, raspberries, asparagus. These are things that are commonly eaten by people. And I just wanted to compare and contrast and show you the difference between the 5 agencies and the different products we're using here. So let's start with romaine lettuce. Last week, as I mentioned, just to review, there's 2 main ways. The main things that we check are leafy greens, and that would include any type of lettuce, kale, and the other thing would be herbs. The major ways of checking these 2 things is either through a solution of water, soapy water. When I say soapy water, it's a very, very little bit of soap. And they use a mesh cloth, which strains, the water is strained out through a mesh cloth, so the bugs will appear on the mesh cloth. That's one way of doing it. The other way is putting it in a solution of some soap, and then you put it through clear water, and you put it on a light box, or hold it up to the light, or put it on a flat surface where you can see if there's bugs in there. Those are the two ways of checking. So romaine lettuce, okay, kofke, soap and soapy water and rinse, okay. Then the next three, OK, CRC, and Starkey, they all use the mesh cloth. And then the OU doesn't use the mesh cloth. They use the same as the kofke. So it follows the rules of using, one of the two methods. Cauliflower and broccoli, I included both of them. The ways of checking should be pretty much the same, but you see the difference here. Look at cauliflower, kofke says avoid use. Broccoli, it's stems only. You can't use the florets. Okay, both ways is separate the stems. In other words, the stems including the florets, and you go through that procedure and wash it, check it through a mesh cloth. CRC, cauliflower is okay, but broccoli, avoid use. I'm from Chicago. CRC is in Chicago. I mentioned last week that 1 year, it was very rainy spring, early summer, and the broccoli was pretty much infested, and CRC said to avoid use. Well, they say that all the time now, to avoid the use. Starkey, separate stems with the mesh cloth. And the OU, they're the only ones who say to do this. You parboil the entire head of broccoli. When you say parboil, it means you dip it into boiling water, not for too long. And you take it out. And then what restaurants do is, as soon as they take it out, they dip it in ice water. That's why broccoli in restaurants, kosher restaurants, it looks so green, because the ice water makes it look like that. Okay. Something unique about strawberries. Look at the top line of kofke, remove greens. OK, remove greens. CRC, remove greens. Starkey, remove greens. OU, remove greens. Universal, they say remove greens. There's no other product here that you're going to see such unanimity here in their the ways that they're suggesting that you check these products. And if you look at the raspberries, you've got 3 places that say avoid use. The OK is the only one that says you can use it to puree. And that's an interesting concept. The prohibition against using bugs states very clearly that the bugs have to be visible to the naked eye. So somewhere down the line, some genius came up with the idea that, hey, if we take them and puree them, we'll smush the bugs so the bugs will not be visible to the naked eye. They'll blend in with the puree. Well, not everybody goes along with it. That's why you see all of the avoid usage with the major agencies. The most interesting one I see is the OU. It says, drop the raspberries onto a white cloth or a light box to dislodge the bugs. Well, my question on that is, drop it on the cloth. What do we drop it from, a couple inches? Or should it be from like 10 feet to really give those bugs a shock, to get them out of there? I don't know. But that's something that if my wife allows it, I think I'm going to go try. I'm going to buy some raspberries and get myself a ladder. Of course, our ceilings are only 8 feet tall, so maybe I'll have to do this from the outside. So, but dropping raspberries onto a white cloth. That's also another way that the way I was trained with, excuse me, broccoli and cauliflower. You take the cauliflower and take the broccoli and you give it a real good zetz. For those of you who don't speak Yiddish, I don't speak Yiddish, but I know a few words. A zetz is you smash it down on there and you see those bugs come crawling out. So this is a chart. I just did this chart just to show you the variance of the different methods that we have for checking for bugs. So what I suggest to you is this. All of you, Catherine, you live in Canada. Do you have reliable rabbis in your town?
Yes, we have a local kashrut here as well as
okay.
the Canadian kashrut.
Okay, okay. Check with your local rabbi. Check what they do. I had this crazy idea. It was just a joke one year to start a website, and the idea of the website was for people to send in a question they had about anything about Jewish law, and say, give me your question and give me the answer that you're looking for. And the thing was, you'll find somebody who will give them the answer that they're looking for. It was a joke. Don't do this. Stick with someone you can trust, someone you can rely on. You've got all the major, I showed you this last week. This is Star K, the vegetable guide. All you got to do is Circle K. Okay. Check with OK. They'll send this to you. They all of the major agencies have online. They have published something, not published something, but put it online that describes how to check your vegetables and how to do it. So my advice to you is find a place to use and go download whatever they have on there, and this will give you a guide for checking. I told you a story last week about my wife and I were invited to somebody's house, and they had a fruit salad, and in the fruit salad they had strawberries that had the stems on. And I was very surprised, to say the least, because these are people who should know better. And the reason for they do it is this. I don't know when they outlawed the DDT, the insecticide, that there maybe 25, 30 years ago, there were not such huge problems with bugs in produce because of the use of DDT, which, basically got rid of all the bugs. Well, they found out it also got rid of a few years off of your life for eating stuff with DDT. So that's why you find that there's so many kashrut agencies today that have the rules and regulations for checking for bugs. Tradition has it that the people today, they may do what their mothers, they have generations of observant Jews that their grandmothers and mothers, they didn't have to check for bugs the way we do today, and they do what their parents or grandparents did. So so much for tradition as far as that goes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through this OK vegetable guide and just give you an example of some of the items that we did not cover, of how they recommend washing for vegetables. And what I'll tell you at the same time is what I know from my own personal experience. The basil is the first one that comes up, or mint, fresh basil. Basil and mint, they're leafy greens, but they're not like a lettuce or something. They're just small leaves. And pretty much what the OK says that what you do is that you do it with the, you soak it in the water, you put a couple of drops of dishwashing detergent, or you could use vegetable wash. You put a couple of drops in there, swirl it around. You don't want to, it to get too sudsy, because then you're gonna end up having basil that tastes like your mother just washed your mouth out with soap after eating the basil, so you don't want that. But yeah, basically you put them in the solution, then you rinse them off pretty good. Broccoli we already went over. Blueberries are interesting. They suggest that you soak it in the veggie wash for 10 minutes, agitate and rub the blueberries in the water, place in a strainer and wash thoroughly under running water, split open a few blueberries and check for white maggots. If maggots are found, the box should be discarded. This is not the way I was taught. I was taught that blueberries, you rinse them. Because if there were maggots in the blueberries, you'd pretty much be able to see them. It's not like, you're getting one stalk of celery, one head of lettuce. You're getting all these individual blueberries, and you would have seen something that indicated that there were these maggots in there, so it's a little bit easier. Brussels sprouts here. I didn't put Brussels sprouts up on the chart that I did, and Brussels sprouts are not widely. They're probably not the favorite vegetable in America. A lot of people don't eat them. But Brussels sprouts, as far as the ORB says, not recommended for use, because they're just too hard to check, because you really got to, they're so small. By the time you get done checking the layers on the Brussels sprouts, there's really nothing left. Cabbage is something I probably should have put up there, because a lot of people use cabbage. Cabbage is very similar to lettuce, with one major difference. The regular cabbage resembles more like an iceberg lettuce. And iceberg lettuce the checking procedure is not as severe as it is for other types of lettuce, because the iceberg lettuce, you take the same thing with the cabbage. You remove the first 3 or 4 layers. And in a cabbage, what happens is that not in red cabbage, but in regular cabbage, when you remove the first 3-4 layers, then you're going to have, it's basically going to be, the color will be white. And the bugs that are attracted to there, the not aphids, thrips, and the minor leaf, they call, are visible to the naked eye. And with the cabbage, when you're doing, and usually what cabbage is used for, not just coleslaw, but they use a lot. Stuffed cabbage is a very popular Jewish food. Not a kosher food, of course, but a Jewish food. And you cut the cabbage in halves and cut it in quarters. You remove the stem, and you basically put it into a soapy solution and take it out, and you could pretty much hold the cabbage up to the light and see what's there. My experience as a mashgiach in cabbage, I never found a bug in the cabbage, but that's just, where the, different parts of the country, it's where it's grown, has a lot to do with what kind of soil it is, has a lot to do with it. Celery is pretty simple. When you're using celery in a commercial setting, most people take off the leaves of the celery. That's mainly where you would find the bugs. I know when we use celery, we don't use the leaves. So let's talk about just basic checking without checking the leaves, that you cut off the leaves. Now, people could use them for soup. It gives soup flavor, I'm told. What you do is you go through the same procedure with the leaves from the celery as you would with lettuce, leafy greens, and with herbs. With the regular stalk of celery, you really have to look for traces of what's called the minor bugs. It's like little trails you'll see along the inside of the celery. So what you need to do is, and usually what they do, if these minor bugs, what are they? called? Leaf miner trail, a leaf miner, vegetable leaf miners. You look each stalk of celery, you rinse it underwater. You rinse it in the water, running water, not underwater, running water, and you look for the traces of the leaf miner. If you do find the leaf miner trails on that stalk of celery, on that particular piece, don't use it. They usually isolate themselves. They're very diligent the way they work. They usually stick with one stalk of celery and don't go to the next one. So, but celery is pretty easily checked. It's easy. Flour. We talked a little bit about grains last week. Flour, rice, first of all, you should keep it in a cool place, especially if you live in a warm climate like we do. Bugs have a way of finding their way into the bags, no matter how tightly sealed they are. So if you're using flour, what you basically do is in the process of sifting the flour, if there's bugs in there, you'll see it. And if you're using rice, you can just take that rice and put it on a surface. We use a white, if you've got a countertop that's, you just put something over it, like white paper, butcher's paper, where if you put the rice or any other types of grains on that, you can see the bugs, they'll be running around. And then if you do see bugs, then you take more of the rice out of the bag. And if you see more than 2 or 3 bugs running around, get rid of the rice. It's probably infested. Kale is difficult because of the nature of the kale. It's got all those different folds. So you have to examine kale leaf by leaf. And you have to make sure that where the folds are, those have to be inspected very, very thoroughly. And once you've done the inspection, then you should put it under running water. That will help get rid of whatever bugs remain. Let's see, we talked about strawberries, scallions, green onions. Green onions are fairly simple. If you're using the greens, you've got to do this with maybe a third or a quarter of them. You just basically take a knife and you slit down the green and you look inside for any bugs. And you do the same thing with the white part. I mean, you cut off the tip and then you slit it down the white part and spread it out, and you can see the bugs very easily in the scallions. And you don't have to do it with every one. If you've got, let's say, 1 stalk of green onions, let's say you've got 10, 15, if you've got 10, I would check 3 or 4. And if you do that, then usually the rest will be okay. Mushrooms. Regular, what they call button mushrooms, are usually not a problem. What you have to do is, it's best to cut the stems off. You don't have to, but like I say, the button mushrooms are not the problem. The types of mushrooms where there more likely would be bugs would be in the what do they call them? The portobellos. Portobellos are shiitake mushrooms. So what you got to do is you got to cut the stem off. Then the entire black part, you take a spoon and you scoop that all out. You scoop it out, because if there are bugs, that's where they're going to be. And you could also check when you're buying the mushrooms at the produce. I mean, you can look carefully. Mushrooms do not have a very long shelf life. So the shorter the shelf life is, the less likely you're going to have bugs. Bugs accumulate sometimes gradually. So, like I say, if you got the regular button mushrooms, they're usually okay. They're fine. You should check them anyway. But the ones that should be thoroughly checked are those portobello mushrooms. And onions, you don't even have to check onions. They all look good. Radicchio, that's the same way that you check cabbage, spices. Anyway, so sweet peas or snow peas. Basically, you don't have to do much with those. You just have to take them out of the bag and wash them. Anything like that is just basically you just remove them from the bag, whatever you get them from, and you just wash them, which you're going to do anyway with vegetables. And certain ones like that, if there are bugs, you'll be able to see them right on the outside. So that pretty much covers what I had today. I know I didn't cover everything. So we have questions right now. Everybody, you can unmute yourself. Is that how it works? Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Yes, Mrs. Lieberman.
They used to say when you washed rice that you should take the rice out and put it in water, and that if the grain floated up to the top, there was a possibility that the inside of the grain had been eaten, and you should discard all the grains that float up to the top. Is that the practice now, or is it what? Is that practiced in addition to what you said?
That would, that's probably a good practical way to do it. The also too, if you put it in the water, the bugs will also float up to the top. The way that I was taught, the most common way is to take the rice out of the bag and to put it on a surface, on a light surface, where if there are bugs in there, that they will become visible. But this is another way. Some people bypass that, and they would do put them in the water. It usually would be not just the water, but when the water was boiling, I believe. They don't have rice in this particular. They don't have rice in this particular book. But the way that I was taught, that I would recommend, would you wouldn't have to go through that. You would just do what I said, check the rice, put it on the surface, and swish it around so you can see if any bugs show up. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Phyllis, did you have a question? You unmuted yourself.
Oh, I thought we were all supposed to.
Oh, no, you can also post to, and
I was just wondering what vegetables are safe to eat. I mean, I've been turned off half of the vegetables now. To think if I saw one bug, that would be the end.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't wait to see 6 of them, but that doesn't.
Well, see, you got to realize something too, that I'm giving you information based on how I was taught, how I was trained. I
realize that.
I was trained to, to do this on a basis where it's going to be served to hundreds of people, and you have to protect everybody, and you have to do it like that. But if you're doing it in your own house, I mean, you don't have to wait for 3 bugs. If you see one, get out of here, toss it in the garbage right away.
I'll tell you, after last week, I never realized how strawberries, how they felt, because I started really soaking them much better than I usually. And I felt all the grains or something, whenever the seeds were like just coming off. I never realized how many there really were on a strawberry. But you have to be careful.
Oh, there can be. I used to work at this place. It's called Hippocrates Institute. It was a wellness center here in South Florida, and I used to work there on Sunday, they had brunch where they gave they always had a fruit salad. And I must have washed, oh gosh, I can't tell you how many hundreds of strawberries, and I got sick and tired of doing that. But when you see one of those little thrips on the strawberries, boy, you want to make sure that you wash them real good. I mean, they show up on the surface, but you can't just like rinse them. You got to really take them and like with your hands, like each one, rub it like that. So they're there.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that does wonders on your nail polish. Not my nail polish. I don't polish my nails. You know, I wasn't giving anybody that impression.
Your wife tells you, it's okay.
Well, I do the strawberry washing in the house.
Yeah.
I do the strawberry washing. Anybody else have any questions?
Sounds like the, looking from your flow chart that the, or your, that the OU is the least stringent.
That's, yes, very, very good observation. The OU, the old, not the oldest, but the most famous of all of the kashrut agencies, is the most lenient when it comes to this thing, which I find very interesting. Also, too, there's a really good video by OU on YouTube. It's not that long. It just deals with washing different products. It's really good. It's worth looking at, especially because the rabbi who's doing it, he's really into this. You can tell this guy is really into washing his vegetables. So, but there's so much stuff online. There is so much stuff online that. Anybody else? The night is still young. I have some questions.
Catherine wants a copy of the flow chart.
I guess I meant the Excel chart. That's what I was referring to.
All right, you know what I can do? Anybody who wants a copy of that chart, just put it, send me a chat, and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And and do me a favor. I know I have your emails, but just no, don't worry about it. You may not want to just put your email up on here. So I'll just get I'll get it to everybody.
You can just put it up on the screen and we can all print it?
Can you do that?
I don't know.
Screenshot, you could do a screenshot.
Yeah.
Well, you have all the stuff superimposed on it.
And
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just put your just send me the message. Just send me the chat, and I will send it to you.
Okay.
All right.
I can send it to everybody tonight.
You know what? Ellen had a very good idea. I will send it to everybody.
Okay.
I'm unmuting everybody. You know, I'm not saying, I'm giving everybody the ability to unmute themselves. If they do have any questions, they can jump right in. Adam, you're always good.
I mean, I definitely need to check my vegetables more carefully, I suppose, based on this lesson. But I also had the kind of question that Phyllis had, that like what vegetables are there that are good, or like or even more so, are there vegetables that we should, those are all the vegetables that we should be especially careful with? Are there any weird ones that are okay? Like, I'm trying to think of strange vegetables.
Anything, arugula,
Rutabaga. Like I don't know.
rutabaga. I think rutabaga is a fruit. I'm not
Is
sure.
it? Oh, so I don't know. There you go. There's my knowledge.
as far as vegetables go, you should be conscientious of any leafy, greeny herbs, lettuce type.
Okay.
thing. Those are the ones that attract the most bugs because, I mean, look how they're growing. I mean, it's very interesting that lettuce, for example, romaine lettuce grows right on the ground, right on the dirt.
Hmm.
But what about carrots? Carrots,
I was just gonna ask you that.
carrots grow
Oh.
under the dirt. But all you gotta do for carrots is give a look. You'll see it right there. Tomatoes, you'll see right there.
They got nowhere to hide.
What?
The bugs have nowhere to hide.
That's right. Nowhere to
You can
hide.
make holes.
Yeah. Alan,
Yeah.
what about artichokes?
Artichokes is at the most places advise against eating. You can eat the stems of the artichokes, but not the leaves. Because the leaves are very hard to separate and check there. And keep in mind too that, like I said earlier, if you're gonna get canned vegetables, if they've got if they've got a hechsher, if they're kosher, you're in better shape, because if not, you see what the FDA allows. So you can tell that there are no rabbis on the FDA.
What about frozen vegetables?
Same
That
thing,
also,
same thing. Frozen vegetables do not need, let's say, for example, we shop a lot at Trader Joe's, and they have what they call the succotash, which is peas, corn, soybeans, what else? They don't require a hechsher because there's nothing there that needs to be checked for bugs. But if the frozen vegetables contain broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, it's got to have a hechsher on it. Because the company who is doing the production does not have a mashgiach checking for bugs. And when the
what
FDA
about corn?
when the FDA comes in, you see how lax they are.
Okay, and what about corn? Corn on the cob, not just the kernel.
Corn on the cob is fine, because, well, like you say, once you take off the husk of the corn, if you can see if it's been eaten up. But corn too doesn't. Corn is probably pretty safe because it's not grown on the ground; it's up in the air. Same thing with like peas, coconuts. We don't have to check for coconuts; they're up in the trees with the monkeys.
I'm curious about storing veggies and like if there's like a different way that we should store them to like how, I don't know, how people normally store vegetables. Like
How you store them?
I leave, for example, I don't put tomatoes in the refrigerator. I leave them out, and same with avocados. And I was wondering if that's the way it's done.
Well,
According to kosher laws?
well, yeah, avocado. I mean, once they get ripe, you don't want to leave them out. But tomatoes, it's like, it's one of the first things they tell you when you're working in a restaurant or something like that is to not refrigerate the tomatoes because they get mealy when you put the tomato in the refrigerator. Usually keep them out until you use them. But no, the bugs you're going to get are usually there when you buy it.
Mhm.
So if you keep it, yeah, there's no, I can't say there's no way to really store the vegetables the bugs gonna get. I mean, we have a basil plant in our house. And the reason we don't grow it outside is because this way I don't have to, we'd still check it, but we don't get bugs in our house. At least ones I can see.
Thank God. Thank God.
Yes, yes.
I have to
Okay,
ask Adam something. Are you at school?
Yes and no.
Okay, so you see the cereal boxes, that's all.
Yes.
Yeah, I could keep my cereal in my closet, except I just am lazy, so I like to have it right above my mini fridge so that I can easily
Okay,
access
that's
my
fine.
milk.
I just was wondering.
Oh no, I'm not offended at all. I just I like the easy access so I can grab milk and cereal simultaneously.
That's right.
It's just an added efficiency.
And he's a student, a single guy, he probably has cereal 3 times a day for his meals. Wheaties in the morning, cornflakes in the afternoon, and Captain Crunch at night.
I only eat this cereal. This is the only cereal I eat.
Very good.
Protein.
What about oatmeal? Oatmeal is very good for you.
I
He
have
has to
like
cook that.
Karina's younger brother gave me what, like 40 packets of oatmeal, something ridiculous like that. So I have lots of oatmeal too if I'm in the mood.
We're glad to see you're eating well, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you. Hanging in there.
Okay, last chance. Anybody else have any more questions? We've had some good questions here. Anyway, I encourage all of you, if you have questions, further questions, and I'm sure you probably do as time comes up, go online. Like I say, the book that I showed you here, I'm not plugging this book. I didn't write it. I'd have to. This is put out by the OK. They will send you a copy. The other, I know OU doesn't send out copies anymore, but it's all online. So whichever one you get, it's good to see variety, but like I say, don't go hopping from one to the next. Like OU says, you know, drop the raspberries from 4 feet high, you know, so you're gonna go by OU for the raspberries and go by Huff K for everything else. Be consistent, or like I say, talk to your local rabbi and find out about that. Okay, thank you all. Thank you all very much. And
What's the topic next week?
actually, it's going to be one of 2 things which I have not decided on yet
Okay.
because I'm doing I've got a lot of the research already done like that. It's going to either be cooking on Shabbat. Actually, yes, it's going to be cooking on Shabbat, and you're all going to be wondering what? Well, I don't have the book right here, but I have a book, and the title of the book is called Cooking on Shabbat. So it's basically going to show you how, for example, like making coffee. You know, you can make coffee on Shabbat. I mean, you know, there's a you know, the laws governing the Sabbath are all things that are derived from the building of the temple. And there's interesting, we're not going to get into that, but we're going to discuss, like, you know, making coffee on Shabbat, like with a filter, not with a filter, I'm saying with instant coffee. There's a way to do it so you're not cooking. You have to come back next week to find out what that's going to be.
Okay,
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you. Thank you all for coming, and
thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
welcome,
Elena.
welcome, Tammy. Hope to see you again.
Thank
Will,
you.
thank you.
All right. Good night. Good
You.
night.
Good night.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Why aren't we?
I didn't see who is the one who wanted a copy of the chart. It says something from to everybody. It doesn't say who. Was that Phyllis? No, Karina, yes, but who else? Phyllis?